Hi guys, Pastor Larry again. And today I'm going to talk to you about eating disorders, or I guess the improper use of food. Seems like we live in a society that's constantly trying to diet, trying to lose weight, trying to gain weight, trying to readjust themselves. And I've learned a few things down through the years. First of all, I'm not a psychologist, and I'm not an expert on eating disorders, but I am an expert on eating, been doing it for many years now, and I'm an expert in helping people who are hurting and struggling, helping them deal with those hurts and struggles, and helping them find some peace. And so, I don't know, it just came to me. I believe the Lord wanted me to share with you a little bit about eating disorders. Much of the time, people who are struggling with their weight or struggling with their food intake merely look at food in the wrong way. I know as a child growing up, my mother was an excellent cook, excellent baker, and she loved to fix foods that pleased her 3 sons and her husband, who worked hard all day. And they were foods like cinnamon rolls as big as my head, cherry pie with vanilla ice cream on top of that, a big old thick chocolate cake with had frosting on it, about an inch thick. These were foods that as a child I got to eat about all I wanted, but as a kid running around, going all summer without a shirt, you can still count my ribs. But as I grew older, suddenly that big thick piece of chocolate cake started putting more on me to where I don't even know that I have ribs anymore. The key is I want to talk to you about the fact that food, much of the time, is a comfort to people. People who have a hard time staying out of the refrigerator. That's me. People who have a hard time with sweets. Again, that's me. Many times look at that food as a comfort, like a dear old friend. A big piece of chocolate cake to me is a good buddy. We go way back, but it'll hurt you in the long run. So if you're looking at food as a comfort, if you're looking at food, maybe you were raised by a mother who was a good cook like mine, and anytime you had a problem or struggle, she'd help you feel better. Come on, feel better here. Give you some cookies, or you can have a piece of cake, whatever. And you'd sit down and eat that, and everybody was happy. You'd be happy. Mama's happy. Everybody gets back to normal again. Well, if it was used as a treat and you're growing up, then that's potentially a problem for you today. And I'll show you in a little bit how that becomes a problem in your life today. I remember one time when I came home from school in about 4th, 5th grade, and I was devastated. I failed a test, and I'm telling you what, broke my heart. I couldn't believe I probably was the only kid in the class that failed the test, I imagine, the way I felt. But when I came home, Mom said, "Come on, Larry, sit down here. Why don't you eat this big old piece of chocolate cake and tell me about it?" Well, shoot, that chocolate cake just smothered that test. All of a sudden, the test was no problem at all. But what it did for me, it helped me, or made me feel and see that eating like that and those kinds of foods would comfort me and make me feel better. I'm telling you what, that's a killer, especially if you get up in age a little bit, anything over 30, you begin to recognize how it's affecting you in a negative way. Another thing, a lot of people are body conscious. People that are either dieting all the time or else trying to gain weight all the time, they're body conscious. And again, it's a problem they picked up somewhere along the line when they felt like or was told that their body wasn't the shape it should be, or they weren't as good looking as they could be, or something, and they believe something about themselves, and today that's causing a problem. Another area is in people's lives who, maybe through abuse or through other things in life growing up, felt like they had absolutely no control over their life. If you were raised in a situation where there was a lot of abuse, a lot of stress, you may feel like there's absolutely no control over your life, and eating happens to be one of those things that you feel like you have total control over. The problem is you won't know when to quit, either starving yourself or feeding yourself. I know many young, beautiful men and women who've hurt themselves through eating or lack of eating merely because they were body conscious and they felt like there was no control in their life. Another thing that usually causes or can cause people to struggle with their weight is when you're diagnosed with a disease or a disorder. Let me read to you some definitions. Here's what a disease is: a quality or habit or disposition regarded as adversely affecting a person. Well, that's called a disease. Many times people think if they've been diagnosed with a disease that there's something wrong on the inside of them. They'll always have that disease, and so therefore they've got to trust the doctors to help them cope with whatever the disease is. Same thing with disorder. The definition for disorder is an abnormal or physical, an abnormal physical or mental condition aimed at reducing anxiety. That's what a disorder is. It's anything you pick up and do in your attempt to reduce your anxiety. Let me tell you, all those issues that I just talked about, whether you're treating food as a comfort, whether you're treating food as to help shape your body the way you want it, or if you're feeling like that's the only area of life you have control, there's one thing that all of us have in common that struggle with this, and that is that somewhere along the line you've believed a lie to be true, and that lie is going to constantly drive you to the refrigerator and help you have a problem for the rest of your life. Now, I was treating food as that comfort, and it's a killer. It's a killer. So now, I want you to understand that the lie I picked up was that I'll feel better if I eat something sweet or if I have something delicious. I've always enjoyed eating. I think everybody usually does. But I felt like that was my source of comfort. That was my source of peace. And so anytime I struggled, that's where I'd go. I'd graze the refrigerator until I found that one piece of cake or something left. I felt just obligated that I had to be the one that eats it. I mean, after all, you don't want to let food go to waste, right? That was another thing that my mom and dad always did when I was a kid growing up, made me clean up my plate. I don't mean just eating reasonable. If they put something on my plate, I cleaned it up. Why? Because, well, after all, there's a world full of starving people, and they didn't want me to waste anything. So, again, that's another lie I had, was it was partially my responsibility to make sure the world didn't starve. And a lot of people are raised with this kind of thing. What's the answer to this thing? The answer to this problem, the answer to this struggle, or to every struggle human beings have that causes you to act in a way or live in a way that's not satisfactory to you or to those around you, are lies you believe to be true about yourself. They're healable. Many people who are dealing with anorexia, bulimia, and all these terrible things don't feel like it's healable. They're taught to cope, and they're taught how to regain control in other ways and so forth. But let me tell you what, they're healable. Anything that has to do with a mental problem, a mental rearrangement. We all have mental issues. Let me tell you something. That's not just for few. That's every human being on earth has a mental issue. And knowing that it's caused by lies, Jesus has the answer. John 8:32, you'll know my truth, you'll experience my truth. When you do, it'll make you free. So let me show you how to get a handle on this. If you're struggling with eating, maybe you graze the refrigerator like I did, you just need to ask the Lord this: Lord Jesus, can you show me where this lie is coming from that makes me constantly feel the need to eat even when I'm not hungry? Lord, show me where that's coming from. Now, if you quiet your mind and you just close your eyes. I always ask people to close their eyes because I don't want them to miss what God's going to show them. Because what He'll show you more than likely is a memory of your past. He'll show you the very day, the very moment you believe that lie that's now causing you a problem. Maybe it wasn't even a problem as a child, as mine was. I could eat anything. When I was a kid, teenager growing up, worked on the farm, worked hard. I had no problem. I could eat anything. Couldn't gain any weight at all. In fact, I tried to gain weight for football and for other sports, but had struggles with that. Well, once I reached about 35 or 40, my struggle ended. And then the struggle reversed, and everything I ate began to add pounds that I didn't want. So you see, if Jesus has the truth, and he always does, Jesus is truth, every lie is healable by truth. You need to ask him where that's coming from. Close your eyes, quiet your mind. Lord, where's this lie coming from that drives me to eat even when I'm not hungry? He'll show you a moment in time. And many times people say, well, I don't see anything. He's not showing me anything. That's because your mind is busy. Just quiet your mind. Lord, would you show me where my problem's coming from? Don't even have to explain the problem. He knows what you're wrestling with. He knows what you're coming to him for. So just make your request short and very specific, and then listen. Lord, where is this coming from? If he speaks to you, he speaks right to your mind. Just words coming into your mind after you ask the questions, his response. Or more than likely, he'll show you a memory where that began. Now, what do you do with that memory? Well, you just look at it. You don't think, analyze, or judge it. Just look at it. Please don't. Just be quiet in the mind. Look at it. And all of a sudden, the feeling you had when you made that memory will come rushing at you. Most of the time, lies believed to be true produce emotional pain. But there are lies that produce no emotional pain. As a matter of fact, they can produce comfort. For instance, me and my chocolate cake. Just memories of that is a very comforting thought. Why? Because that's what it always was. So my lie was, Lord, I just believe this is where my comfort and my peace comes from. Well, he'll quickly answer that. As soon as you tell him what you're feeling. If it's pain, tell him you're feeling hurt, you're feeling not good enough, whatever. Trapped, overwhelmed. If you're a person who was raised in abuse and you're dealing with control issues, you might feel like you're trapped, you're overwhelmed, you're constantly under scrutiny, can't please anybody. All these are negative feelings that you need to tell God, but tell him one feeling at a time. The feeling that grabs you first, that's what you take to God. And then you just listen. Lord, right now I'm feeling like nobody cares for me. And then listen. You may have 3 other feelings in there, but you're only going to tell him one at a time, because much of the time we speak to God so long and we keep rattling on and on that we talk ourselves out of a blessing. Listen, eating disorders, eating struggles, eating problems, overweight, underweight, whatever, are resolved when you take it to the Master. And it's just as simple as this. Find a quiet place. Sit down. Close your eyes, quiet your mind, tell your mind to hush. Ignore all the thoughts that come at you for a few seconds. Let your mind quiet down, kind of like you do when you want to go to sleep. And then ask God the question. If I were you, I'd write down the question before you even sit down and quiet your mind. Get in your mind what you need to ask God. And then listen. At the end of each question, you listen. Just quiet your mind. He'll speak right into your mind. You don't hear him with the audible ear, you hear him with the mind. And then he will always show you where the issue is coming from. Every issue of life has an origin. And guess where that origin will be? It'll be somewhere in your past. And only God knows where. And only God can speak the truth that will make you free. Truth from the one who is truth heals lies and all those things that cause us to be wrong, to go in the wrong direction, and to do the wrong thing. So let's see here. He'll speak a specific origin, he'll show you, and then he'll give you the truth when you're looking at that memory. Lord, I just feel like cake is my peace. Or I feel like I'm totally out of control, Lord, that nobody loves me. Tell him those things, whatever you're feeling. Listen. Always speak aloud then what you sense him saying. Now, many people ask me, well, how do I know it's God, or how do I know it's my mind? Well, speak it aloud. When it comes into your mind, just speak it aloud. And if it's God, you'll know it instantly, and I doubt very much you'll ever miss it. The Bible's very clear, my sheep know my voice, so you're not going to miss it. But if you should, let's say, and it was something in your mind that just came up with something. If it's negative, I guarantee it's your mind. Say, Lord, I just feel like where's my problem coming from? Eating too much. And your mind might say, you've always been fat, or something of that nature. That's your mind. That's not God. So, Lord, where's this coming from? He'll show you a picture. In that picture, tell him what you're feeling, whether it's good or bad. And then quiet your mind. Let him speak to you. And when he speaks to you, when that comes into your mind, speak it aloud. Let those thoughts, let those words cross your lips. Speak it aloud. And when you do, the pain and the lie in that memory goes away, and you'll feel the change. You'll know something drastic, something wonderful on the inside changed you. It's Romans 12, 1 and 2. It's Romans 12, 2 that talks about being transformed by the renewing of your mind. This is the renewal process that we're talking about right here. So, eating disorders, any kind of disorder, any kind of struggle, take it to the master healer. And that's how you work with him. Very simple. Keep it simple. Don't let your mind or any of the experts or religious folks complicate it for you, please. It is meant to be simple. God created it simple. Mankind has come along and confused it and caused it to be more complex than it needs to be, because that's how man controls man, don't you know? Well, I want you to be controlled by the Master and deal with these issues and allow him to give you truth that will forever make you free. God bless you, friends. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you watch. If what we're speaking is helping you, please give me a comment below. Let me know you're out there. If it's confusing you, tell me that as well. I want to help you. Let me know you're out there. Let me know you're struggling. I'm here to help mentor you. I am a facilitator between hurting people and God. And if you need help, I'm here for you. God bless you. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, because what I bring to the surface here is going to affect you and help you in life. God bless you. Hang in there. I'll see you again next week.